Mike Gill would State of Corruption. What we're doing now is moving pieces. Big pieces, finally big pieces. Shaheen and Gordon, Walker, both lawsuits. These are lawsuits that I pushed. I pushed by putting these criminals on my sides. I gave you the drug dealers. It was Shaheen and Gordon that's protecting Anagos, Cruz, and Griner in the lawsuit. What are you seeing them trying to get? An injunction, not just to take things off the signs, but also to have no cameras. That's right. Now, if they're innocent, then why are we arguing about cameras? I thought you would invite the cameras. Don't you want to see what's happening corruptly? Don't you want to see what Shaheen and Gordon is doing and the fact that they're connected with the drug dealers in business and through politically? How do you think they get HUD money and so forth? They're going through Shaheen and Gordon. What we've done now is we've moved this to we're moving players, principal players. We are engaged with the criminals that run this state. Okay? And now Walker too. I'm going to countersue Walker, which is exactly what I want to do, which will get you back into FRM. Will get you into the money laundering through the Banking Commission. I knew exactly what I was doing. And I have a lot more than they know that I have. But that's how we're moving the pieces. We are literally fighting now the principles, right? Not the tail of the snake, the head of the snake. Right now, Shaheen and Gordon and Walker are trying to get the judges to be moved to Brentwood, Rockingham. You know, Francois, who put me in jail for 10 days. Anderson, 4 back-to-back summary judgments against us. I've called you that they were the protecting unit for the banking department and the laundering. So now they're trying to move it back to the same judges that have already incriminated themselves. Ask yourself this question. We did have 2 judges recuse themselves. How many more judges wouldn't take it on? The whole courthouse in Manchester and Nashua, your 2 largest cities, what are they trying to tell you? They're trying to tell you that they know I'm right. And it's also a sign that we're winning. Why do you think that these judges won't take it? They're afraid of getting caught, which is why they're going back to the same criminals. Right. It's working. We're making this obvious. I also believe that there's an investigation going on in this state by the feds and the DEA. They don't want to come out and tell you, but I know the cross currents. I know the questions I'm being asked. So I'm telling you this is happening. Now let's do one more piece here. I'm giving you the evidence. Let's solve the crime, and let's looking it from their network of spies. Right? I've uncovered that spy. His name is Ted Little. He was the texter that threatened my children. He was the texter that mentioned the criminality. What we didn't know, and what I didn't know, so you couldn't, was who he was referring to as a mole. That mole was Brian Toomey, which we caught weeks ago. That's what he was trying to tell us. Now that these pieces are in place, we know how to attack them. Which is why this information I was turning into the court, Francois, this is why I did 10 days in jails, because I refused not to give them the threats to murder my children. But they also knew it was the criminality in the courts. They were protecting Shaheen. They were protecting Walker. That's what we're talking about. So let's briefly just go over these text messages, because this is hard evidence. And it speaks to the corruption of this state from an insider who was working with them. I know something you don't know, and you should know. It's very valuable. Leverage. Now, we're going to post these all for you so you can go through them in its entirety, these text messages, so you know exactly what I'm saying is the truth, and you see my responses. When they say leverage, that's a lawyer who speaks. That's what they use, and he's right. He's always been right in this. What if I can show you legal documents about your divorce that you have never seen, and files? I can show you pictures ranging from Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker is Alex Walker, who was then my attorney, who I said in the lawsuit that he was manipulating this process. He's giving you Walker and your ex-wife Sarah. They took advantage of her mental illness and leveraged her, right, and stole her millions also. She is a victim in this. To Lisa Tracy. Lisa Tracy, ready? To the attorney that represented her and Jim. This guy knows that Jim Tracy got charged with molestation of their daughter. Front page of the Lawrence Eagle Tribune. It was Shaheen that got her on the front page. Jim on the front page. You know who the attorneys were? Shaheen and Gordon. Right. You know why they were attorneys for Lisa Tracy? She was my controller. You know what they can't have you finding out in the lawsuit, which is why they shouldn't be representing Aganos and Cruz, because they know it's a conflict. It's a conflict because they don't want anybody else finding out that they leveraged a woman with her 3 children. That is what this witness is saying. That is Bill Shaheen and Gordon. They leveraged her with putting the husband in jail, taking the girls away from her. Otherwise, she's a spy, and she's my controller, and she's destroying evidence, and she's working with them. This is that witness that says he knows that for certain. I go on. To representing, the lawyers representing Lisa. They know who it is. Give you pictures, files, docs that have secret of you. They have taken secret files and documents. Who am I that someone that's just been pointing out corruption? It's the corrupt that are taking pictures and documents of me. Why? Because I'm trying to tell you the corruption that goes on through these states and the players. They have your schedule. They have a mole in your business, and I can tell you who it is and prove it. I didn't know at the time. That mole is Brian Toomey that we caught weeks ago, who was working with the DRA, IRS, the Banking Commission. This guy could give you everybody, right? Including Walker. Who do you think they had my schedule? They tried to kill me in Miami. You know why? Because they had my schedule. You know who was still working for them as a mole? Brian Toomey and Kerry Lemieux. Right. So he was trying to tell me who it was. And it took me a year and a half later to find out who it was because I trusted this guy. You need a prepaid disposable phone. They can't tap. So he goes on to saying, my question is, my enemies are an enemy or a friend now? And then I said to him, you know me, and you know the tapes and what I say. You know that I am an honest man trying to do the right thing. For someone wanted to help me, I could assume that they were a friend again, and I would treat them like one. Then he's going, friends are hard to come by. What I am is a witness. I believe the truth doesn't matter anymore. This is an inside guy. This is the lawyer who is working for Liberty Mutual and these law firms to corrupt my position, to destroy the evidence that I was using against them. Look what he says. People get shipped out of state. You do not hear from them again with this type of info. And I know that has already happened a couple times. He's right again. This guy hasn't been wrong once. Dallas Sedgwick, Oklahoma, shipped out. Remember Richard Head? Boom, we caught him. California he goes. He's exactly correct. And that's what they do. When you catch them, you break them down, they ship them out to protect their own corruption. Now he's telling you that, then asking for a phone again. And you can read everything. But let's not miss the importance of this witness. This is somebody from the inside that is acting corruptly. You know why he had docs and he had pictures and files? Because he was taking them. Why do you want to contact me, I say? You already know I was being taped. Here's a free tip. I don't quit. I don't ever quit. I contacted you because I want to help. I contacted you because you would have a beautiful one word, leverage. You never quit. That's in your DNA. But this is a game of leverage. You continue to... So he's asking that I will give him money to fly his 2 boys to California to go out there with his ex-wife. You understand that this guy, and you keep reading it, is firm on his children escaping. Now, take a second here. You see it over and over again. He doesn't want to speak until his children are in the air. How dangerous is that to you? Are we talking like the mob? We're talking organized crime? I say we are. And that's why he's afraid. You see it. That he keeps talking about that he's afraid. These people can stop your life in a heartbeat. And again, I won't move on this information until they are in the air. And yes, they are that bad. And I have to do this. He's saying the public officials in this state, Shaheen and Gordon and Walker, are that bad that he's worried about the lives of his children. Right. Well, I'm saying, well, I'm not afraid of them. And my children will be in the air. And then he says, I know others have children like yourself. You have 4 boys and 1 girl, and he names my daughter. You would do the same thing in possible trouble. But fortunately, Sarah lives in Wyndham. This is him telling me inside he knows my children all by name and where they live. That was his little threat to me if I out him. Right. And then I go on. He says, I can prove it, that the rat is the rat. The ball is in your court. If I would have done this year and a half ago, I would have gotten Brian Toomey. We would have saved all this. They've been trying to destroy the company. Brian Toomey was in charge of destroying the signs, which you've known that they've done. And they call it the biggest one yet. When I called out Amy Miller, he says, I've given you Amy Miller as a spy. Amy Miller was an attorney working for Liberty Mutual as a mole. When I said Lisa Tracy, he tells me he gives me Shaheen and Gordon, that she's working with them. And then he doesn't give me Toomey. That was the last piece. That was the spy. He was right about everything. I told you already, this one's the biggest yet. And I can prove it. He could have given me this. He even goes on to say that you were working on a RICO complaint against John Friedman and you were going to put it out on Wednesday. He could have not known that. Ted was already fired at that point. It was Miller. He was inside already listening to everything and trying to get out. He would tell me when we were filing the RICO. Look what he said. The Heat are the officials of New Hampshire. The victims are the public of New Hampshire. Thought we were on the same page. Now beginning to accuse me of being against you. Listen, we are on the same page. It is the officials of New Hampshire that are the criminals. We are the citizens of the state are the victims. That's coming out of their mouth. You don't think we should use this guy as a witness? What do you think Shaheen Gordon and Walker's trying to do? They're trying to get an injunction to silence me so you don't know this information. Then they find in the discovery, and we quite literally have witnesses that are fearful for their lives. How's this one? He's fearful for his children's lives. Then he goes on to tell me about my son and where he moved to. And he moved in with a buddy. Right. That's the fear level that they have. And then he talks about my son not being able to dodge. So now they're threatening to murder my children if I come forwards. Francois wouldn't allow this to come in as evidence. That's why I went 10 days in jail. And do you know the other letter I had that was put on my car? It was about taking their deal. And if I didn't take their deal, they were going to cut each and every one of my children's heads off and mail them back to me. Now, we had that in writing. We had that for court. Francois knew I had that and wanted to submit it as evidence. This is why you can't see it, because it brings in a witness to all their crimes that they hired. Right. We're talking Shaheen and Gordon, Divine Millimat and Alex Walker. These are the people pushing Medicaid expansion and protecting these criminals. It is a large internet corruption throughout the state. Now think about this. 2020 picks your state. Cops TV show picks your state and your town of city of Manchester, both of them. You think it was coincidental? Or do you think we have grown to that level of corruption and crime? And you know why you have crime, and it's only going to get worse? Because the heroin problem is unchecked. It's unchecked because it's the law enforcement that are protecting them. That's why they're citizens of the year. That's why they're businessmen of the year. It's called hiding in plain sight. I'm giving you evidence that would put these people in jail, but the protectors of these people in jail. I want you to consider everything I said here. I will keep you informed. This is criminal evidence that's going to the U.S. Attorney Rice and the Department of Justice and the DEA. So you can't tell the people of New Hampshire that you were not informed and that you didn't do anything. And you watched this continue to happen year after year.